Hello everyone and welcome to Christmas in July. I'm so excited to bring you a couple of cute, fun Christmas cards that you can start working on now. I am sharing today our brand new online exclusive. This will go live on July 6th in my online store, along with a bunch of other products that you can purchase. This is the card we're going to make today. We're going to make this amazing slider card. I'm going to show you all the details on this card and how to make it. But before I do that, let's get into the products of this suite. This is the Horse Open Sleigh Suite, and it includes the Horse and Sleigh bundle, which is a gorgeous bundle. There are lots of amazing dies in here. And then the stamp set. And the stamps are really big. You can see on my completed card how much bigger this image is compared to the cover on the stamp. So just be aware this is a larger stamp, but it is fantastic. It'll fill your card up with images, and all you'll need to do is add some greetings. So it's a great bundle. Also included in the suite are these really amazing snowflake adhesive snowflakes. They come in like a copper or a rose gold, a gold, and then a white, and you get small, medium, and large, which is just fantastic. These are such a fun accessory. We're not using these snowflakes today, but I do have lots of other projects on my Christmas in July series on my blog that you can check out. This has those snowflakes used. And then finally, we have the DSP. This is the Horse Open Sleigh DSP. It's a 6x6 DSP, and I'll go through this pretty quickly and show you the front and the back. I love the picturesque images on the front, and then the backs have some beautiful patterns that are just kind of basic patterns that you can use year round, that they're not necessarily Christmas themed, so this DSP will carry you into some year round crafting. This is the pattern we're actually going to use today. I've cut this down and I'll give you those measurements in just a minute. These patterns are so fun. They're so gorgeous. This is probably my favorite pattern. I just adore that little deer. It is so cute. And some more here. I love this one too. I love this kind of aerial look, kind of like if you're a bird in the tree, this is your view. I think that's really fun. There's just so many fun, beautiful patterns in this DSP. Perfect for all year long as well as Christmas. So this is a good DSP to get, even if you're not necessarily ready to do your Christmas crafting. All right, so let's get started. We are going to make this card. We're going to actually start with the card base on this. And I've actually shared a few other slider cards that they use the same kind of technique. So I'm going to grab my notes real quick. I am going to show you the basics of how to make this, and then I'm also going to link in my blog post a couple other cards that I have made using the same exact technique with these same measurements. Okay, so let's get started. So for your card base, you're going to need a piece of cardstock. I'm using Lagoon, and it needs to be 9 by 5.5, and I have scored it. Let's see, I've scored it this way. I've scored it at 4 1/4, and I've scored it at 8.5. So let's go ahead and fold on those score lines. This will give us your standard 5.5 by 4 1/4 inch card. Now on this little 1/2 inch tab, this is going to be our glue tab, but just to make sure everything goes in and tucks in nicely, I'm just going to cut off a little sliver on each of those corners. Not a lot, just a little tiny sliver. Okay, so this is going to be your card base. All right, and I need to grab one punch. Hang on one second. I meant to grab this in advance, but I forgot. So I'm going to put that off to the side. We're going to use that in just a second. All right, let's get our cardstock, our DSP on here. And it's going to go this way. With that 1/2 inch tab on the bottom, we're going to adhere our DSP on here. Now I've trimmed this piece of DSP to 5 1/4 by 4. And I'm going to stick this down with some pretty strong adhesive. I'm using some Stampin' Up Plus. I really want to make sure that this does not go anywhere. This is going to be part of our mechanism. And so I really want to make sure that it stays nice and secure. So that bigger section between that 1/2 inch score line and the bigger section here is where you're going to adhere this. Just line it up nice and straight. All right, we're going to pull out our paper trimmer now, and we're going to do some cutting. The Stampin' Up paper trimmer is fantastic. You get a scoring blade and a cutting blade, and they kind of slide off so it doesn't interfere with any of your cut surface here. All right, so with our 1/2 inch tab on the right, I'm going to line this up to pretty much the edge of my paper trimmer here. Well, maybe pull it back just a little bit. So maybe about 1.25 inches, 1.5 inches, somewhere between 1.25 inches and 1.5 inches. There's no real exact measurement here, but we're just making like a track. And I'm going to go in, there's a ruler on the side here, and I'm going to go in about 1 inch from the edge on the bottom here, and I'm going to press and cut until about 1 inch from the other edge. I'm going to give that a good little press, and you're going to be left with just a slit. So you're not cutting all the way through. There's still about 1 inch here and 1 inch here, not cutting all the way through. You're just making a slit. Okay? And that's it with our paper trimmer. We're going to put that aside, and we're going to get ready to assemble this card. For my inside piece, I have just a piece of real red and a piece of basic white. Now you can stamp something on here if you want. Just be aware that this is not going to pull out all the way, so you don't want to go too far past that center line here. You're really going to be kind of limited to really only decorating the right half of this card. All right, I'm just going to glue this on. My real red piece is 5 1/4 by 4, and the white piece is 5 by 3 3/4. All right, we're going to set this aside. That one's going to be ready, but let's go ahead and punch our hole. So you can see I have a little notch punched out here, and for that I'm going to use my 1 3/4 inch circle punch. So I'm going to fold it in half like that, and then I'm just going to bring this in. I'm just going to kind of eyeball center. If you want to use a ruler and mark center, you can. I'm just going to eyeball it, and then we're just punching out the littlest bit. And by doing this, we're going to have a nice little notch that's going to indicate to our recipient that they need to pull there. Okay, let's start the assembly process of this. So we're going to take our inside piece, and then I have another piece of white that is 1 by 3 1/2. All right, and I am going to stick this through our slot, just like that, and I want about 1/2 inch to 3/4 inch hanging out the bottom here. And then on the other side, I'm going to put a little bit of adhesive just on this end over here. Okay, so sticky here, I just put a line on this end, and then if you flip it over, it's kind of hanging out this end, okay? So I'm going to move it all the way to the left side, put it so it's nice and straight. I'm going to flip it over, then I'm going to line up our middle piece inside and just adhere that down just like that. So what's going to happen is when you pull this piece, that paper is going to move along that track, and we're going to adhere our sleigh to the front of this. So when you pull that piece, our sleigh will move along. Okay, I hope that makes sense. Now before we completely seal this up, we are going to add our sleigh. So let's get working on our sleigh. Now I have already stamped and die cut my sleigh and colored it. I've listed all my Stampin' Blends that I used in the video description. So you can see that I just stamped it in Memento Black, and then I colored it, and then I die cut it. I also cut out of our holographic paper, I cut this little sleigh detail. This is the bottom part of the sleigh that's going to go on. So I'm going to adhere that down. I'm going to use my liquid glue, but another good option for this would be our adhesive sheets. If you stick it on the back of your paper before you die cut, this will be a sticker and make it really, really simple to adhere down. All right, we're just going to line this up right over our stamped image, just like that. And that's going to give us that nice little metallic finish on our sleigh. Isn't that cute? All right, let's bring back in our piece here. And I want to make sure that this is all nice and lined up on the inside here. All right, so we have this ready to go. We're just going to kind of maneuver and figure out where we want our sleigh, just like this. I want my sleigh to be right at the bottom of that score line there, or right at the top of the score line. So I see that this is just a little bit too long. So we're going to put our tear and tape on first. Let's do that. I think I'm making this sound a lot more complicated than it needs to be, but trust me, it's worth it. So I'm going to put a line of adhesive on there, and then I'm just going to use my paper snips, and I'm just going to trim off a little bit. It was hanging over by about 1/8 inch on the bottom, and so I'm just going to trim that off. And before we take off that adhesive backing, I'm just going to line it up. What I'm doing is I'm going to adhere it to the bottom of the sleigh here, kind of where the end of the red Stampin' Blends is. And I just want to make sure that I don't see any of that little tab, and I think we're good now. So this is where we're going to glue it. So with everything in position, go ahead and peel that tear and tape backing off. And we're going to stick this on. Just make sure that your little tab is pushed over to the left when you adhere this on, because this is how you want your card to be once it's closed. Just like that. Now we're going to give this a test before we adhere it together. And when you slide it, it's going to slide along, which is just so fun. Okay, now we're going to make sure everything is nice and secure exactly where we want it. And we're going to put a line of tear and tape across this 1/2 inch strip now. And now we're ready to adhere it. Make sure you put this on the front because we're going to adhere it on the inside of the card. Okay, so we're going to flip this over. We want to make sure that it goes on top of our red piece. So just close it over the red piece and then just close that back panel down just like that. So that's going to make our little kind of tube, our tunnel, but our real red piece is still going to slide back and forth. Really fun, right? Let's add a quick greeting. So I used a greeting from that stamp set. I have already pre-stamped that, sending warmth your way. I think that's such a fun greeting. I'm going to just create a little banner. And now if you have the banner pick a punch, you can use that. If you have the old Taylor tag punch, you can use that. However you choose to make your banners. I'm going to move that out of the way. Now I also have a bow that I tied in advance using the Essentials Baker's twine. This is the gray one. I'm going to pull that off. It's on a glue dot already. And I'm just going to stick it on up here. This is just going to add a little bit of extra to our card. And then I'm going to take a couple of dimensionals and just put them on either side of that knot. And our greeting is going to go right on top of that. Just kind of right up to the edge there. And I'm going to do one more dimensional on the end here, just so that it all sits nice and flat, just like that. All right, so we are almost done. We want to put something here that's going to indicate to our recipient that they need to give that a little pull. So I'm going to pull this out. I have one more piece of that DSP. We're going to use the reverse side, just that real red pattern. This is 1.5 by 3/4, and I'm just going to fold this in half. You can use a scored if you want, but it's a small little piece, so I'm not worried about it. I'm not worried about folding it in half, so we're just going to fold it in half. We're going to open it up, and I'm going to put some adhesive on both sides. Use a strong adhesive. This is going to get pulled on. And I'm just going to kind of center this and adhere it. If you have a little tab punch, you can use that as well. Just something to kind of put on the edge here that indicates that they need to pull it. And just kind of eyeball center and stick it down. Now with this little tab that we're putting on here, this is going to make this a little bit longer than 5.5. So, you know, I'm going to try to line that up a little bit better with the little punch that we did. So with that, with this little tab on here, it's going to be a little bit longer than 5.5, so you may have to use a larger envelope. Okay, that's better. So we're just lining it up inside that circle. Isn't that fun? I really love this. Okay, now I have a Lost Lagoon bow that I have tied on here. It's on a glue dot already, and we're just going to stick that on our little tab, and that's just going to further indicate that it needs to be pulled. Now, there's plenty of room in here to write your greeting, and you can do that before you assemble it, or you can even use the back to write your greeting. So lots of places to write a greeting. You can add a gift card. That would be fun too. So any way you want to dress this up or use it is super fun. All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed this fun slider card. This is one of my favorite kinds of cards to make, and I've made a bunch of these recently. So let me know what you think. If you're watching this on YouTube, please subscribe to my channel. That really helps me out, and you never miss a video. Thank you guys so much for joining me, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye.